We're going to get started. So this is officially the M&M conference, which it kind of, I guess, indirectly is an M&M topic. This came up in our last ACGME meeting where, our last GME meeting. We were talking about the survey that was done. We have an annual institution review every year and send out a survey to all of the residents. Y'all probably remember filling it out, us bugging you every day to fill it out. And we found that a number of residents answered some questions that kind of indicated maybe burnout and regretting either the field of medicine that they chose or something else that indicated that even early on there may be some physician burnout that we're not talking about. And so I was kind of nominated to take on this topic, and hopefully each program can kind of run with this and continue this discussion. It's become, I think, in the public eye also a little bit more of a topic. In fact, I'll show you that in Time magazine, I found this back in August of 2015. You can see Doctors on Life Support, that there was an article published about doctors' health, basically saying they're stressed, burnout, depressed, and then when they suffer, the quality of care to their patients suffer. And so it's kind of become a public health issue because of that. Just a couple of, sort of what is burnout? What is the definition of burnout? There's kind of three components to that. Physical and emotional exhaustion, which y'all may, as residents, may have experienced this already. Depersonalization and reduced sense of personal accomplishment. Now, burnout is a little different than stress. I mean, burnout is sort of on the continuum of stress. Stress, you can maybe feel some of these things, these aspects at some point in your training, in your day-to-day, but you recharge and then you're fine, and then you kind of, reach your best again and realize your purpose, and then you're okay. But burnout is the point where you don't recharge and where you feel these different aspects the majority of the time. And so that's recognizing it early on. We want to stop your progression to burnout. So I've actually passed out a questionnaire, the MASLOC, that we'll pass out at the end, the MASLOC burnout questionnaire, which has kind of been the gold standard for burnout surveys. It's used in a lot of different studies. And I want y'all to take that home and look at it, because I think early recognition at this point in your training is very important, so that we can develop coping strategies early on. So this was kind of what got our attention. We had the health survey Brookwood Baptist Health Survey back in 2015 for the annual institution review. Out of 66 residents in our program, 15%, pretty across the board in every specialty, reported that they were very or extremely unsatisfied with their chosen field of medicine. And so, that's significant. You think about 66 residents and 15% of them say that they wish they'd done something else. Whether that means a different career or a different field, it's hard to say, but that got our attention and sort of got us talking about this as faculty. Looking nationally, it's kind of scary. They recently done Mayo has done some studies on this and found that more than half of U.S. physicians are currently experiencing professional burnout. So it could even be more than that. This was, a survey. The rate of burnout actually increases every year. So they did a survey back in 2011, compared it to 2014, and the percentage has increased pretty dramatically. It begins early, so they're finding burnout even in medical students, so early on, and it affects every specialty. And there was some sort of depression screens and surveys that were sent out and found that about 40% of physicians suffer depression, and then 6% with history of suicidal ideation in the past year. So all of that goes hand in hand: burnout, depression, and then ultimately, worst case scenario, suicide. So this is why it's such a huge issue. So what are the consequences? Well, from a public health standpoint, I think reduced quality of care is shown to increase medical errors. Reduce patient compliance, because if you're kind of depersonalized and you're not really connecting with your patients, then your patients aren't going to do what you tell them to do. And then ultimately reduction in physician workforce. So early retirement or career change. A lot of physicians are retiring early or finding something else to do. or, worst case scenario, suicide. So those are kind of the consequences that we see long-term of burnout, which is why it's such a big deal. So how can we fight it? Is it all gloom and doom? We know it's getting bad and we need to recognize it, but how can we fight it? And I have a guest speaker, Dr. Sandra Frazier from UAB, that's going to talk a little bit more about this issue and talk about some coping strategies. And hopefully at the end we'll have some time for open discussion and open dialogue about this. Like I said, the mass like burnout inventory that you guys will get at the end, I want you to take time to look at it. And then we may actually send out kind of a survey monkey for y'all to take online and see, if you screen positive for some of these things. And then we'll talk about coping strategies, and that's what Dr. Frazier is here for. So I'll introduce her. I met with her a couple of times about this talk, and this has kind of become her field. She's from Mississippi and did her training in Mississippi, and did her training in pediatrics, and then did a fellowship in adolescent and addiction medicine. She's been at UAB since 1994, so over 20 years. And at that point, she founded the Addiction Recovery Program. And within that program, she had a facet where she really helped healthcare professionals that had addiction issues. And then about 10 years ago, in 2006, she established the Professional Development Office. And the nice thing about this office is it's very, very private. It's very anonymous. It's off campus. It's kind of in a nondescript building. They don't have any EMR, so everything's on paper. There's no way for anyone else to access these records. And that's kind of her field. She sees mostly physicians. She sees medical students and some PhDs as well. Mostly physicians that have issues ranging from substance abuse disorders to anger problems, behavioral issues, communication skill problems, burnout. Anything you can imagine that has to do with physician help she deals with, and she's kind of the go-to person for that. She was named UAB's first physician health officer in 2006, and then in 2011 she kind of expanded her services to be the assistant dean of professional development, and now she works a lot with dysfunctional teams. So dysfunctional departments where people aren't getting along, she really helps counsel them and develop strategies for the team to work better. So she has a lot of different facets of what she does within her professional development office, but she's going to talk in particular about physician burnout. So I'll introduce Dr. Sandra Frazier.
That's great.
Yes.
Thank you all for having me. Grandview people, hello. Do I have to look at them or am I looking at the camera?
You're doing just fine.
Hello. And I understand y'all can talk about me and say things, and you're muted, so I will never know. But this group I can hear. I can hear you. So thank you all for having me. My name is Sandy Frazier, and I've been at UAB. This is my 22nd year. And didn't train there, but have done most of my career there. And as Erin said, the last 10 years or so, I've been focused on taking care of caregivers. Who is taking care of those of us on the front line? And ultimately, if we take care of our caregivers, our patients get the best care. So that's really my passion. So I set this up. I set this my office up because I realized when I was treating a lot of healthcare professionals for substance abuse that we don't ask for help easily, and we stay in denial a lot, and we're just not sure what to do and how to get help. So my office is designed to be kind of a confidential place where physicians or physicians in training can come brainstorm, talk about personal issues, whatever is impacting you or maybe your success. We want to be a resource. So I've been really blessed to do that. And UAB's been very supportive. So I'm really excited to come here, and maybe this is a good talk. I'll get invited to that beautiful Grandview Hospital that I hear is awesome too. So what about burnout? You know, Jeff Foxworthy does the "You Might Be a Redneck If," and definitely I'm one of those because I'm from Mississippi. But this is my "You Might Be Burned Out If." You consider a 60-hour work week part-time. You know, and I think it's so funny when they restrict your resident hours to 80 hours a week. Just 2 full-time jobs. We're going to be so nice to y'all, we're just going to restrict you to 2 full-time jobs. I mean, that's kind of crazy. You might be burned out if you're jealous of the Walmart greeter. You know, wouldn't it be nice just to walk in and do your job and leave and not think about it all day? Or you think about how relaxing it would be if you were in jail. At least I'm going to get some sleep, I'm going to get meals, I don't have to worry who's going to buy the groceries, who's going to fix the... Okay, so why is this topic so important? You know, there's a huge push for quality care, obviously it's appropriate, at a good cost, and we want our patients to have the best experience. And I do some of that. I'm one of the experience officers at UAB too, so really focused on what experience do our patients have. And that's not just patient satisfaction. That's kind of a misnomer, but do they feel cared about? And I could come back and do a whole nother talk about that. But what are we doing about the caregivers? Who takes care of us? Are we encouraging our physicians to take care of themselves? Because it has a huge link in this chain. If you look, sorry, Aaron just talked about all of these things, and I just put references there, and you can get a copy of this at some point if you want it. But I always have to remember that some of you are very data and analytical, and you like to know, why are you saying that? Do you have anything to back it up? So I always try to put a few references in my talk so you know that, okay, it's not just me making something up. But we certainly see decreased quality of care, more errors, more malpractice suits. Patients don't comply because they can tell you don't care, that you're not really in it. And then our patients pick up really quickly that you are not passionate about what you do. So we're going to talk a little bit about what is burnout, what are some consequences, but I want to try to spend more time on what do we do about it. Because we've all heard the stories, we've all heard the statistics, we know it's there, a lot of us have experienced it, but what do we do about it? That's the million-dollar question. So let me give you an example of someone who came in my office, and I've kind of changed things around a little bit to protect the innocent. But this is a 44-year-old gentleman, a surgical subspecialist, and he came in my office, and I'd never met him before, and he came because he had a wrong site surgery. Devastated. Now, it wasn't like right or left. I think it was a finger or a joint or something. It was, and he didn't actually cut the wrong place, but he was about to. Okay, but it made a big, big impression on him. And he said, I need to talk to you about it. Well, he wanted to be all his career in an academic medical center. He loved teaching, and he got Teacher of the Year awards several times. He ended up being the highest producer, highest generator of funds in his department. He got promoted to section chair, and he did beautifully. They just kept giving him more and more titles, and he did everything well. And on the outside, looked like, wow, what a rocket scientist, what a rock star on there. So socially, he was married, he had 2 kids, 7 and 9. He started feeling so bad because every day he came home complaining about work, and he felt so bad for his wife that he just said, now I just come home and don't say anything because I know it's going to be negative and I can't stand the way it's affecting my family. Maybe I'll get this.
There's a little delay between.
Oh, cool. I'm not very technological. Okay. So he says, how could this happen? Patients used to always be in the forefront of my mind. That's what I thought about all the time. Now I'm so distracted with all I have to do. Should I just quit? I am so unhappy. But I can't go back in time. I can't go back to my chairman and say, I don't want to be program director. I don't want to be section head. If I do that, he'll be so disappointed. And he'll think, you're just weak, you can't handle it. I just want to teach and take care of my patients. That was his passion. I want to teach and take care of my patients. He doesn't even want to come to work. He was this close to leaving. Now, whether he would have gone somewhere else, but he was just devastated. What do I do? So, we had to talk a lot of times for me to finally convince him, I think your chairman would want to keep you. And I think your chairman would be fine if you say, look, this isn't my passion, the administrative stuff. The problem is he did it all so well. And I said, you're going to have to go be honest. You're going to have to tell your chairman, this is not what I want to do. I can't do it anymore. So finally, he had to talk to the chairman. He sent me an email. I said, oh my gosh, it went great. The chairman was so supportive. He wanted me to stay. We got together a plan on transitioning out of all those titles. And now he's teaching and taking care of patients. So if you look at what burnout is, a state of emotional, mental, and physical exhaustion caused by excessive and prolonged stress. And as Aaron said, no relief valve, no recharge. There's the ICD-10 code for it. You're like, whoa, probably all of us in this room might have met that code. It's V73.0, a state of vital exhaustion. So if burnout is on the stress continuum, it makes sense that we've got to start dealing with our stress and being more proactive before it gets to the burnout stage. And as Aaron said, burnout is emotional exhaustion, nothing else to give. Depersonalization, your patients really are not human beings to you. They're that appendicitis, their sepsis, their congestive heart failure. You're not connected. And then because you're not connected and you don't have anything left to give, you feel like, am I even doing anything right? Am I even making a difference? And then you start feeling guilty. And that's when you're thinking, maybe this is the wrong career. I don't know about you guys, but what does your stress look like? There's days I feel like that. What's important to know is, what does your stress look like and how does it manifest? Because we are so good at kind of minimizing and rationalizing that sometimes we don't even recognize it. So you have to know what happens in your body and emotionally and cognitively for you personally that gives you a warning sign. So if you look at the top tier, physically, what happens to you in your body when you're really stressed? Because sometimes for me, this is my first sign. I'm clueless to it, but grinding teeth, muscle spasms, trouble swallowing, sighing all the time. Mine is I get really, get muscle tension in my shoulders and my neck, and if there's no reason for me to have that, I have to stop. What is going on here? So it might be that it's in my body first. They give that analogy of when you have a pot of water and you stick a frog in it and then you turn up the heat and it slowly, the water heats up and the frog's just hanging out. You can get that water so hot, boil the frog to death. He's not going to do anything because he adapts. But now if the water is boiling and I take the little frog, this terrible, don't call Peter. And you stick a little frog in there, he's going to jump right back out. Because the water's hot, I know it's like touching an eye on the stove. But we live in a real stressful environment, and sometimes we get immune to it. We don't even realize what it's doing to us. So we're just sitting there, and it's heating up, and before we know it, we're exhausted. What happens to you mentally, emotionally, when you're under a lot of stress with no really significant release valve? Can't concentrate, can't make decisions, feel worthless. You get even more obsessive about your work. I'm just going to work harder and longer, but you get really less efficient. One of mine is difficulty making decisions. And I'll tell the little story. When we first started our office 10 years ago, I was under a lot of stress because nobody had ever done this at UAB. I wasn't sure it was going to be a good job. I had recruited 2 people to come work with me, and I felt like, gosh, we've got to make it because they won't have a job if we don't. And I just that performance thing. I need to make this work. UAB's believed in me. And so I called my administrative associate and the counselor who works with me, and I said, hey, you guys come in my office. My administrative associate came with her little writing pad, and I said, okay, we need to order legal pads. Do we need college ruled or wide ruled? And they said, that's what you called us in here for? I said, yes, but I can't decide because like I write small, Adrian writes big. They're like, oh my God. You just don't worry about it, we'll take care of it. I mean, those little decisions, I was just struggling because, you know, bigger decisions I was a little better with, thank goodness. But those little ones, I just was in a quagmire. So the difference, how do you know when I've reached the other end of that stress continuum and I've had burnout? If you look at stress, you're in that over-engaged, overactive, you're running around, you kind of meeting yourself coming and going, you have this sense of urgency. When you get burned out, you're very blunted, you feel pretty hopeless, you just are not very engaged at all. Physically exhausted, a lot of anxiety, a lot of physical damage with overstress. Burnout, when you get to that continuum, mental exhaustion, depressed, just attached, just a lot of emotional damage. And the sentence that kind of sums this up, stress may kill you prematurely, and you won't have enough time to finish what you started. Burnout may never kill you, but your life may not seem worth living. So it's a huge deal. And as Erin said, we do, a lot of us, there are times when we have burnout, we feel burnout, but we find a way to recover. But when we don't, this is what happens. And I've seen physicians have to take a year off work. I've seen physicians change their careers. And a lot of times it's because we didn't stop the train. It was going down the hill. We were getting burned out. We knew something wasn't right, but we didn't know what to do. Or we were too scared to ask for help. So I think Dr. Townsend referred to Mayo had a study. There's a Medscape lifestyle report saying that really in the last year of all the people they surveyed, burnout is increasing with every specialty. So this will be hard for you to see wherever you are, but it ain't good for any of us. You know, it's not like here's somebody way down here. I mean, we're thinking, I used to think, gosh, dermatology would be good, but wow, they're around 50. Primary care is probably one of the higher rates of burnout. So again, these are people that met that criteria. So it's very scary, and that's why we've got all this resurgence of interest in burnout. And how do we prevent it? Because we finally are waking up and saying we can't turn a blind eye to this. And people are speaking out and said there's just so much I can do. When we look at gender, generally women experience burnout more often. I've seen studies that are more 50-50. But when you think about it, it's probably related to roles. You know, as a woman, a lot of times you have many different roles. Physician, mother, aunt, wife, significant other, maybe caregiver of a parent. I'm not saying men don't have all of those as well, but I think women traditionally take more of that burden on themselves, whether they should or not, or whether it's imposed on them or not, is a different story. So we have to be really cognizant of this. What causes us to feel so burned out about work. We know all this. We know all this. Too much to do and not enough time to do it. The electronic records cause a lot of angst for a lot of people. We can't do what we think we need to do for our patients. We feel like a cog in a wheel. There's too many appointments. So we know all that. We may be having difficulties with a colleague or a patient, and compassion fatigue. We just have seen too many difficult things. And you look at, I thought I had one more slide. Let me see. We didn't make it. Okay. Basically, in a field like ours where it's high demand, the less control and the less support that we have, the higher our risk of burnout is. So the answer to it, I've got to keep support around me, and I've got to have some semblance of control over what happens to me. Because again, particularly when you get employed, if you're not even in a private setting, a lot of things are kind of told to you, and you feel like you don't have a lot of control. But also, we have a lot of outside regulations, Joint Commission, Medicaid and Medicare, so sometimes it feels like I'm just the cog. Nobody lets me have control. So what I want to do is spend the rest of the time figuring out how can we develop resilience? How can we survive and thrive in this field? Because most of us went into this wanting to take care of people. We have a good heart. We want to see people get better. We want to make an impact in people's lives. And we get too caught up in the busyness sometimes, and we forget that. So I think that the biggest thing, it really lies on us. Are we self-aware? Do we know what we need to do? What are the things that we can do? That's really what you have control over, right? Is you. So we've got to find a way to decrease our stress and our energy drain and recharge, because this is a stressful environment. You see a lot of great things, but you also, it's not like you see a whole lot of happy people. I mean, most of them feel bad. If they hurt, or you're just going to cut them or something, they're not really happy, they're scared. Or they're, I'm kind of mean when I don't feel good. So you think, wow, that patient's mean. You don't go see Frazier, she'll bite you out. Well, I don't feel good. So you kind of have to take all that into consideration. So what am I going to do? One of the biggest gifts you can give your patients is to be self-aware. What triggers you to get distressed? What are your values? What are your goals? What are your strengths? What are your limitations? Do you ever stop to think about that? Do you ever do a self-inventory? Now, I'm an analyzer, and I have inventoried myself to death. I've gone to counseling a whole bunch of times, so I'm pretty aware of a lot of my weaknesses. But I know what to work on. And so, if I, for instance, had an alcoholic father, and he went to rehab 20 times and he never got sober, I'm probably going to have a little bias toward alcoholic patients. That's okay as long as you realize it, because if you don't, they can pick up on it. If you see an alcoholic patient, they can tell that you kind of don't believe they'll get better. You need to refer them, because you'll keep them from getting help. But just know yourself. What triggers you? Some of us, I have to always just stop and think, why did I just do that? I have to kind of reflect, and I can usually figure out. Practice mindfulness. Here's the thing. Stay present in the moment. That's all you have. When I'm in a room with my patient, that's my therapy, because I can't think of anything else. I'll just turn off the distractions, and I'm like, you are the most important person in the world to me right now. If you're a rock climber, I hear what they tell rock climbers is pay attention to what's under your feet. One little step at a time. If you're looking at the top all the time, you're going to miss what's around you and you're not going to be focused. So if you just are feeling, oh, stressed, overwhelmed, as soon as I close that door and I'm with the patient, that person has my undivided attention. And they will know if they do or not. But it helps me just put the other stuff aside, and then I can come back and worry about it and fret and all that after I've seen my patient. At the end of the day, this is a challenge, and there's some study that's been done, actually. At the end of the day, before you get in bed, ask yourself, what three things went well, and how did it make me feel? And this study said if you do that every night for, I want to say a month, it increases your mood. I don't know, try. But what we tend to do is focus on the negative because we're all overachievers. So if I have a survey and they say, Dr. Townsley says, I want y'all to evaluate Dr. Frazier's talk. And every one of you said, pretty good, okay talk. And one person said, that was the worst talk ever. Never have her back. She, you know, she's a fraud. She's awful. She's a wreck. Okay, well, I'm going to focus on that. I'll focus on that negative. I'll be thinking, oh gosh, should I ever give another talk? That's what we tend to do. So when you think about your days, most things go well. More things go right than don't. We tend to really beat ourselves up. So at the end of the day, say, what are three things that went well and how did I feel? So don't focus as much on the negative. You're going to make a mistake. You're going to have patients that don't like you. You're going to have attendings that think, that wasn't a good job. Life goes on because more good, you have more good than negative. And you do more good. We just have to be reminded. Learn to delegate. That's not very easy when you're in training because who are you going to delegate to? But maybe you have a lower level or poor medical student that comes along, just delegate the heck out of it. But seriously, this is what we tend to do. A lot of us are perfectionists. That's okay. If you're my neurosurgeon, I want you to be a perfectionist, okay? But if you carry that to extreme, it's a liability. Because what do? I think nobody can do it as well as I do. I'm not going to take the time to teach anybody because I can just do it myself quicker. What am I doing? I'm adding on all kind of stuff that I'm robbing other people of an opportunity to shine. I'm robbing them of the opportunity to show they could probably do it better than me if I would just allow them. Might not do it the same way, but it may be better. So when you can delegate, you will be a little happier. You may be nervous at first. Oh gosh, you do it. And don't go hover and micromanage. So let somebody do something and see how they do and then go check back, give them feedback. You may learn something from them. But the temptation is, I've got to do it myself. I've got a news flash. You don't always do everything better than somebody else. And you do have to trust some people. And your team, the people around you, that's the best way to engage them. Are they going to feel like you trust them and you think they know something if you're doing it all yourself? They're like, well, I was going to, no, just go ahead. I'll do it. So think about that. Learn relaxation techniques, whatever that is. Progressive muscle relaxation, yoga, breathing, all kind of things. Express gratitude. Express gratitude. What are you thankful for? And that goes along with appreciation and thanking people. You know, it's very nice if, let's say you're with your team and your attending says, good job, everybody. Well, I'll take that. I'm happy to hear that. But what do you think the meaning would be if they said, Sandy, you know, when you talked to that patient and the way you handled that was just beautiful. That means something to me. Give me something specific. I walk through the hospital a lot of times, particularly when I feel frustrated. And I go looking for people that I can express gratitude or that I can say something nice to. It will change your day. So I'm walking down the hall, I'm moving, I'm going late to a meeting as usual, and I hear this lady, I think she's environmental services, singing a hymn or something. I'm just going by and I just stop in my track. And I said, wow. I said, that is beautiful. Thank you for that. Of course, she got all embarrassed, flustered. She didn't realize she was singing out loud. Oh my God, did you hear me? I'm like, no, keep doing it. It was just beautiful. And then I took off along my way. So find things that you find ways to thank people and appreciate people. It means a lot. Journal. Some people really like to journal. You know, again, what went well, this is what I'm feeling, because it can tell you a lot. Most of us are thinking, I don't have time to do that. But there's a lot of physicians that like to write. So do that. Learn to say no, if it's appropriate. Again, I can't say no for everything. But this is a huge one for most of us because we want to please people. We want people to like us. So when can you say no? Because this is what I've had to learn. Most of the time if somebody asks me to do something, my rule is for myself, don't ever just say yes. Because I want to please the person who's asking me, and I would be making an emotional decision. What's best for me is to say, you know, let me think about it and I'll get back to you. Then I can remove myself from the emotion, and I need to ask, can I do that job well? Can anybody else do it? Because if I take on too much, I'm not going to be able to do it all well. And people are very understanding if you say, you know, thank you for thinking about me, but if I take that on right now, I won't be able to do a good job. Can you ask me again in the future? And Dr. Townsley knows that exactly what I'm talking about. She was asking me something, and I wanted to say yes, yes, yes. I said, I'd like to, but let me check with my mentors. Ask my mentor, can I do that? No. What? Sandy, you are already overstretched. Don't commit to that. So again, having that reality check. Develop your spirituality. All that means is, you know, whatever spirituality means to you, but it means look to something bigger than you. The more stressed and busy we get, the more narcissistic we get. The more we get narrow focused and think about ourselves. Think of something bigger than you, outside of you. It very much helps with burnout. Seek help. Ask people. Go to a counselor. I don't care. Go to a colleague. What do you do? Most of us have felt this way many times. What do you do? How are you doing this? How do you look like you still have energy to do what we do? Then how do you recharge? You've got to know how you recharge. A random act of kindness, we all know this. Do it at work. You know, do it at work. There's a, and I'm just giving you examples, my personal thing. We have this huge, like, ramp up in one of our clinics. And I was seeing one of the transport people, little person, with a wheelchair wheeling this large patient up this ramp. I'm thinking, oh my gosh. And she's practically laying down, pushing, and trying to act nice because she didn't want the patient to feel bad that the wheelchair is about to wheel backwards. You know, so she's pushing her. I just got right behind her. And together we pushed that wheelchair up. I didn't know her. We didn't say anything. It's like, great, have a good day. We work better together as a team, don't we? Keep a life schedule. We all keep a work schedule. Schedule your life in there. I'm going to schedule that date night with my significant other. I'm going to schedule that t-ball game. So when you can, schedule, because I'm a schedule freak and check box, so I sometimes have to schedule, buy the groceries, go see my niece. You know, I have to kind of make it that prescriptive sometimes. Hobbies. It's the little uplifts. The thing that protects you from burnout, you've got to outweigh the daily hassles with daily uplifts. And for a lot of us, it's a hobby. I get so sad when I see physicians and they were like concert pianists, and they come in and I'll say, oh, you used to play the piano? Yeah, but I haven't done that in years. I don't have time. But they were so passionate. Don't give those things up. Find things that recharge you. Find things that recharge you. The walkthrough, this is, again, my personal thing. I just sometimes, early in the morning particularly, I like walking to the hospital. That's not a lot of activity. I just walk through, and invariably, I'll see somebody in a wheelchair, somebody with a tray. I'll see somebody that looks really sad, whatever. And I'm just thankful. I'm like, whoa, I'm walking and talking and breathing. I have a little bit more common sense now. You know, I'm not horribly brain damaged. I'm not paralyzed. Sometimes it just gets down to the bare basics. I just have to walk through and realize, okay, gosh, I'm really blessed here. Take your vacation time. We tend to be really bad about that because we think everything will fall through and everything that we're doing will just fall apart. Nobody else can handle it. Usually they do quite well when we're gone. Your patients want you to take a vacation. They need you to recharge. I also have a patient hall of fame. So start cataloging and thinking of patients that really impacted you, that make you smile, that make you laugh, that make you feel good, and think about them. I have this lady, when I want a little chuckle, I always remember she was an elderly lady, kind of country, my kind of girl, and I was doing a review of systems, and she said, well, Doc, you know I have that microwave prolapse. And I said, ma'am, she said, I have that microwave prolapse. Of course, I asked her 6 more times because I thought it was hysterical, but it was the cutest thing. I didn't correct it. You know, I'm not going to say, no, that's mitral valve. It was, so I told everybody, don't ask her what's wrong with her heart. But it was so cute. She said, I have that microwave prolapse. So I had to talk to her about her microwave prolapse. And I have information in my stomach. And this information's killing me. You know, so just a little thing. Have your patient hall of fame. It just makes me laugh. I'll be walking down the hall and I'll be thinking of the microwave prolapse and I'll just be cracking up. So keep your patient hall of fame. And remember, it's okay to do some things for you. Little things. If it's a bubble bath, it's a manicure, it's a pedicure, it's a walk in the park. Do some things to recharge yourself. And if you think about your patients, you can't afford not to do these things. Your patients will get better care if you take better care of yourself. How do we get others? What about that support piece? You cannot do this in isolation. Invest in healthy relationships. Get it healthy. How many of us have been in unhealthy relationships? I would not ask you to raise your hand, but 2 or 3 of mine would go up. You get in unhealthy relationships, it drains you, it takes energy, it's not working, but we won't let go. So find people that have traits that are optimistic, that you admire, hang out with them. Invest in your healthy relationship. The other thing is, we see each other probably more than our families do. Give each other permission right now to speak into your life. I'm giving you all permission to speak into my life. So if all of a sudden I'm doing something that's not characteristic of me, I need you to call me on it. If I'm looking down and just no energy on it, Sandy, are you okay? You're not yourself. Or I'm biting people's head off. Yeah, what is wrong with you? Because I may not even know, because I'm thinking I'm hiding. So I'm going through this awful divorce, I'm very sad, and I'm thinking I'm hiding it so well at work. People are seeing it. But I need somebody to care. Sometimes I need somebody to say, I've got your back. You know, if you saw this big cancerous growth on the side of your colleague's face, you might say, dude, you go check that out. I don't look good. Same thing with our mental emotional health. This isn't like you. Something up? Can I help you? Find somebody that is a role model for you. I've got mentors all over the place. They're not official, but for different things. You know, somebody to help me with being more optimistic, somebody to help me proofread my emails because they come out like I talk and they're not just going to a big wig, they need to sound more intellectual, so I have to let them proofread things. Find people that are kind of role models. You know, I have a question, and I'm going to just go off. I noticed that you don't do that. How do you not do that? So I see a lot of docs that have some temper issues. And I'll say, okay, what just happened to you would make me mad too. It would probably make your colleagues mad, but think of a colleague you have that would get mad, but they don't do what you do. And they usually get what they want because they are diplomatic and they're respectful. Reflect regularly with at least one person. We need to debrief. Sometimes we need to just debrief. When you have a patient that dies, usually unexpected, I mean, it's going to impact you. If it doesn't, it's time to go. But who do you talk to about it? Usually you've got to go see the next patient. At some point, you need to come back and say, it really bothered me, this person died. Or it really bothered me that somebody thought I didn't do a good job. So reflect. Give others the benefit of the doubt. This is huge. You know how we will get busy and we'll think, you know, that nurse calls you at 3 a.m. for a stool softener and you're thinking, are you kidding me? I'm saving lives, I'm busy, and you're calling me for a stool softener? Do you think that nurse probably really wanted to call you at 3 a.m. and ask that? She has a Nurse Practice Act. She has to get orders done. She has to do those things. Unless you've been a jerk, and you have that reputation of being a jerk, she probably did call you at 3 a.m. just to wake you up or irritate you. But generally, give people the benefit of the doubt. She might be having a bad day. You might be having a bad day. You know, in traffic, when somebody pulls out in front of me, I can get so irritated. You know, you want to do hand gestures and yell and all that kind of stuff. And I have to stop and say, okay, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. There might be somebody pregnant in the back seat. They might have just heard their mother had a heart attack. You know, I don't know. But they probably didn't wake up and say, I'm going to piss Sandy Frazier off. Probably, I'm famous. I'm well known, but they probably don't know who I am. Yeah. So, and why do I pull out in front of people? Usually because I'm a goofball and I wasn't watching. I'm not trying to irritate people. So, most of the time we assign value to a lot of things and we waste a lot of energy because we've decided that nurse called me because she's an idiot. That nurse calls me she don't like you. Check it out. That's usually not the case. But we can be really quick to judge. Another thing that I've found has been so helpful to people, and particularly to me as well, have some variety in what you do. So you guys, particularly when you get out of training, you have some say over that. There are some people that just want to be workhorses. They want to just see clinic patients. Great. Some people can't do that. Teach. Go do something else. Try to do some administrative. Do something in a committee. Find other things. Have some variety in what you do. That seems to help a lot. And then finally, what about where we work in the community where we work in? Team retreats. I know a lot of residents have those. Why do we want to have team retreats? Well, we want to bond with each other. We want to kind of know each other so we can have each other's back. We also want to just have a little moment to recharge, to see what it's like to have fun outside of work, and to strategize. So retreats are really helpful. On-site childcare. UAB has a nursery or whatever, and it's always a waiting list. But the thing that the faculty, they did a big survey and they said what would be helpful, who keeps sick kids? So they're looking at that. And also, does daycare, is any daycare you know open 5 to 10 at night? When some of us are working these ridiculous hours? So sometimes you're really stressed and it closes at 5 and you're like, whoa, stop the code, somebody finish it, I've got to run and get Susie. Or they're going to lock her up in the daycare. You know, so those kind of things that organizations can help us with a little bit. And we just, y'all might have this, have a paternity leave policy. So not only do mamas get time off, but the daddies do too. That's awesome. Offer resources for professional development. Things like my office, or places where just career development. Who do you talk to when you're saying, I don't know what I want to do? Or I'm about to go out in private practice, I've got this contract, what should I be looking for? Somebody you can brainstorm with. Or if you've got mental, emotional, you know, depression, anxiety, any of those kind of things, where's your support? Peer support, huge. July's coming up. You're not going to believe how much you've learned until you look at the people that come in July. Thank God I'm not an intern to begin. You know, you just want to be saying, oh. And then you realize how much you've learned, but remember what it felt like. Hook up with them, particularly if they aren't from around here. You know, say, hey, let me show you the ropes. You know, and I don't know how many of you are Southern, but if you ain't Southern, it can be kind of tough down here. I mean, I've been saying I'm going to write a course, how to get along with Southerners when you ain't one, because, I mean, it's a different environment. I didn't realize that until I got around people that were from all different regions of the country and all different countries. You know, I'm stupid enough to think everybody acted like I did. We said ma'am and sir. They don't. They don't. Here was a big one. There was a big resident survey. And they said, what's one of your biggest concerns? And why don't you take off time when you're sick? Because why don't we take off time when we're sick? It's going to make our colleagues work harder. We feel like a dog. I'm not going, I'm going to have to be dead if I don't come to work. I don't want anybody talking about me because they have to take up my slack. So some places will have like a sick call person. So you are assigned to the sick call, and if a resident calls in sick, you know, you got it. You understand, I've got to cover their stuff, or cover their call, or help cover it. So that way, when I'm sick, I'm not feeling so awful. Somebody's on standby and realizes you could be called in, or something like that. You know, how many of you have to work when you're sick? That's great for our patients, isn't it? This is how stupid I am. When I was an intern in pediatrics, I was on night float in the ER. This was back in the dark ages. We didn't have an attending in the ER. Isn't that scary? Holy cow. And usually it was just the intern up at night. I had to call it, I got the flu. Never had the flu before. Oh, this was the flu. I couldn't move. I hurt so bad. I was so nauseated. I was coughing. It was terrible. I had to call in one night. Felt awful. The next night I said, I'm going, I don't care what. I felt better, but I was so achy. I hadn't had anything to eat or drink. I walk in and the nurses are like, oh my gosh, you look terrible. I said, I think I just need some fluids. Put an IV in me. This is true. I go to the patient's room, push my IV, like, hi, I'm your doctor. Do you think that instilled much confidence? They're like, what? You're kidding, right? You're a patient or something, aren't you? I mean, I'm pushing an IV pull around seeing patients, trying to convince them I'm not contagious and I'm just fine. At least I should have stayed somewhere and just gotten a big bolus and then come out without the IV. That's how crazy we do. This is a fun thing too. As a group, like of residents, like internal medicine residents, find you a group charity. Find a project that, again, get outside yourself. Habitat for Humanity or whatever, or a family, and that's your project for the year. So you do every now and then, you'll do things that support that charity. Volunteer for things particularly in your community, not related to medicine. Go serve at the soup kitchen. Boy, that'll keep your priorities straight. Get in a non-work group. You know, sometimes we have to realize not everybody's like us. You know, they're not all type A and driven. Wow, there's normal people out there. So sometimes we have to find a way to get in a group. Oh, see my OCD, that's supposed to be take a service trip. Tail a service trip. Take a service trip. I've gone to Africa twice and Costa Rica and done some just medical work. Wow, that's life-changing. if you get a chance, it doesn't have to be another country, but if you get a chance to go and serve in a place that doesn't have good medical care, it's awesome. And then physician-friendly services, I don't know, I can't remember what that meant when I put that. Gyms and have gyms available and that kind of stuff. So, wrapping up, this is what my office does. We do talks like this, workshops, we do assessments. If something's going on with a resident or a medical student or a dental or optometry student or faculty, come in and let's just figure it out. Every patient sees me, and we're like, okay, I can help you, I can find somebody to help you. It doesn't matter what it is, personal, professional. It's always confidential. We don't charge people in UAB medicine. The only caveat of confidentiality, if you're suicidal or homicidal, I'll be calling 911. But other than that, we're going to work out a plan. And I've got a counselor who works with me. She does a lot of counseling. Or we can find you somebody in the community. Also do some coaching. Sometimes, you know, you get put in positions like leadership positions, say a chief resident position or a program director position, and you might not have the skills to do it. Or you're like, whoa, nobody gave me like a template of how to do this. And then if you need a consult, sometimes I'll just have a chair or resident call me and say, I've got this going on, what would you suggest? Just a place to brainstorm. And then if we can't help you, we'll certainly try to help find a place that you can go. So that's kind of our model. And here's my contact information. Please don't hesitate to contact me if you have any questions or comments or confessions or whatever. I'd be happy to share with you my experience. And it's been a pleasure to have you. I appreciate you coming early and